Hey guys, just to add a little bit more detail to the video that I created yesterday. So, there are a few details I got wrong here or there. Again, I'm not a big fan of any of these people, Hassan Piker or Ethan Klein or any of these people. So, let's talk about exactly what I got wrong. I'm not going to correct every little detail. There are maybe a few minor things here or there that I messed up, but overall, the majority of what I said is correct. So, one big detail is that the editor that Ian IDUBBBZ had fired or had separated from had left his service about 18 months prior. So that's one bit of it, but he still followed him. Now, not everyone you follow on social media is someone that you actually agree with, but he knew that this guy was posting stuff like that, and he was reposting it himself. So, Ian knew that his former editor had been attacking one of his best friends. Now, Ian had gone to Ethan's house several times. He met his family. He stayed over at their place for weeks on end, making video content and all that stuff. Something else I need to correct is that, well, it's not really something to correct, but something to add in, is that there's a creator out there who hates basically everybody involved in this story. And he's even more radical than most other, socialists online. Now, I'm not going to give his name because, one, I can't remember it. Two, it don't matter. But he's this guy who criticized Hassan Piker. Now, Hassan Piker having very exceptionally weak, thin skin, thin skin, doesn't take criticism very well. So he didn't take criticism very well from this random dude on the internet who made videos about him. However, at one point, this dude started making video content on Ethan. Now, Hassan blatantly ignored this guy anytime he made content on himself, but when he started making content on Ethan, he decided to share those videos. And this is the guy who claimed that Ethan's child was getting sick. I don't remember the name of the disease, but Ethan had been joking around with his co-host saying that his child had started to get to the age where they're able to move around all over the place, and it started to put things in their mouth. And they got, I think it's Guardia, and that the wife called Guardia too, which is a disease if you're not aware. Well, I'm not aware myself either, but apparently you can get it by ingesting dog feces. And it's spreadable, I guess. No idea. But Ethan was very clear that, he was joking. Well, this guy decided to spread those rumors to other people within the socialist circles, the terrorist supporting circles, and he and his fans are the ones who called CPS, Child Protective Services, on Ethan's kid. He has two kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And one of the most disgusting things is that one of the women involved in this whole affair said that kids that young don't form memories. They don't remember things like this. It won't traumatize them whatsoever. Even when they go to the kids' school and, pull them out of class and interview them. A 5-year-old. Interview a 5-year-old. As if a 5-year-old has any idea what's going on in their life or anything going on at home. Who will make stuff up at a drop of a hat. Now, that won't traumatize the kid at all. They'll be fine. And they outright defended this stuff. Ian, hearing this, also defended it, saying that that joke that Ethan was making so obviously required the call of CPS, or at the very least, one of his fans probably called CPS, because how gross that is. I mean, what happens if it's true or whatnot? It very clearly wasn't. It was a joke. His kids were not crawling around in dog feces and eating it. That's disgusting. Kids will put a lot of things in their mouth, but feces is one of those things that has an universally disgusting taste to all humans. And they would not, in any manner, try that more than once. That's disgusting. And Ethan is not the type of person living in his mansion to allow his kids to do something like that, or allow his dogs to poop all over the floor. Now, I talked about Ethan having mental health issues, mostly like, I don't know, maybe depression or something, but I don't know for sure, but I do know he has Tourette's. Now, he doesn't have the kind where he randomly starts using slurs or swear words. He just has the hand and like twitchy like neck motions. So it's a milder form. And it was obviously getting worse with all the crap that was going on, because obviously a mental health issue like that is exacerbated by stress. Then there was another character involved in all of this called Frogan, I believe. And if I got that name right, because there were two like frog type names. Frogan really does remind me of like Frog for some reason. I think there was like another person by the name of like Frog something. Anyways, I got them a little bit confused. Now this woman is a slightly overweight Muslim woman wearing a hijab. Not very popular, not very well known, but she's the type of person who is saying stuff like she wants every single American soldier that had PTSD. Hassan Piker is the type of person that said that America deserved 9/11. This whole group of people are the kind of people who share content, share like tweets that say that every American soldier who ends his own existence is a soldier bringing himself the justice. Just so you know, like, what kind of pieces of shit we're talking about here, okay? Now, all that being said, Ian, after completely botching his second charity event called Creator Clash, where creators are brought together to box. In their first year, they made like $1 million. In their second year, they thought that this would be their annual Super Bowl, where they would make a whole bunch of money and be able to donate a part of it to charity. Now, there is a certain for-profit business angle to this. But they decided to start paying for everyone's flights to the location, to start getting very high-profile boxers involved. At least one high-profile creators involved, in paying them for their time and services. Which there should be a certain amount of payment for it, but they were like overpaying these guys. They even paid a professional boxer to come in, and they completely ignored the rules of boxing. There's height and weight standards for a reason in boxing. Well, not really height standards, but there's weight standards. Like, there's a reason why there's featherweight, weatherweight, and heavyweight, and like all those different weight classes. And they put like a really heavy dude against a really light dude. And that's unbelievably dangerous. I just want to point out that that small dude in a boxing match with someone so much bigger than him could have died. Like, literally, they could have killed somebody by doing that. Apparently, they didn't actually look up any of the rules of boxing. They just randomly threw people in the ring together, which is an awful idea. And they were just spending money left, right, and center until they were like 25. It was like 25,000, or it might have been 10 times that down the drain. Like, they made absolutely no money for charity. Well, after ignoring his friend's plight, Ethan's plight, for a year and a half, not saying anything, not coming out on defense, not stopping or contacting the former editor and telling him to stop, not caring that Child Protective Services had been calling on his kids, not caring that skulls were being mailed to his friend, not caring about the fact that Ethan is a Jewish man trying to raise 2 small children with people threatening his life, not caring that people are trying to ruin his career and his life, not caring about his friend at all, because, again, as I said yesterday, the man is a complete and utter psychopath, willing to throw his friends under the bus for even a little bit of clout with his terroristic supporting friends, Hassan Piker and all the others. Oh, by the way, Ian also shaved his head completely bald, like skinhead bald. Completely coincidentally, even though IDUBBBZ is famous for his long, flowing, like, unkempt hair. And he also grabbed, you know, that sword with that mid-century German symbol on it, making sure that the symbol was pointed directly at the camera to make sure that the symbol was in the right orientation to actually resemble the symbol instead of the Buddhist version of that symbol. I mean, completely coincidentally, of course. I mean, this is it's all possible that that's an accident, but, you know. Very interesting accident that they were having there. But, let's ignore it. So, Hassan Piker was eventually challenged to a debate by Ethan Klein. And again, was completely and utterly destroyed. Now, this is a guy who came out in defense, saying that everything the Houthis were doing was completely and utterly justified, including taking innocent people hostage. That he denied all allegations of a certain sexual nature that was performed unwillingly on people in Israel, including Americans who may not even be Jewish in nature, who are simply on vacation. So he doesn't believe all women, at least when they're Jewish. Very progressive of him, I'm sure. Now again, I'm not the type of person that really... I don't personally think... let's get real for a second, okay? I don't believe that there's any grand conspiracy of Jewish people ruling the world or anything like that, okay? There are a lot of rich people out there of Jewish descent, but guys like, say, a certain George is an atheist. And he worked with the mid-century Germans as a child in helping to confiscate, take away the property of Jewish people who were put in certain camps in Germany. And he outright said, this is the George fellow that you all know who I'm talking about, said that he doesn't feel bad about it at all. There's no guilt there. There's no, like, survival guilt or anything like that. It was just a job after all. Again, complete and utter psychopath, all these people involved. I mean, I don't think Ethan is himself. Now, Ethan did actually, this is another mistake I made, Ethan did call out Ian specifically. And, when this was all going on, he was basically just saying, like, hey man, can you say anything? Can you do anything? Can you, like, you know, support me and my wife that you know, love and care about, and you spent weeks around us and hanging around our family and living in our house, making videos with for all these years? And Ian decided to release his content cop video completely out of left field, without informing them whatsoever, without getting in contact with him, without answering Ethan's messages to him, private messages to him. And that caused Ethan's wife to have a full-blown, like, mental breakdown, where she had to leave a live stream, a podcast, because she was crying. She was, like, in the bathroom just having a complete and utter meltdown that their best friends had betrayed them and stabbed them in the back so thoroughly. You really gotta feel bad for Ethan at this point. I mean, at this point, I think he should just outright become a Trump supporter, because if this is what the left does, what do you have to lose at this point? Like, honestly. Not being that guy where it's like, hey, everyone who's against us should be, like, you know, anybody who's betrayed by our enemies is our friend, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal. But yeah, at the very least, the guy should consider, you know, maybe this whole left-wing thing is a little bit insane, and maybe he should think about finding new friends on a side that won't stab him in the back at the drop of a hat in order to get clout with terrorist supporters. I mean, it's just a suggestion. But anyways, my whole favorite bit of all of this is the fact that Hassan Piker, Mr. America deserved a 9/11, has gotten vast amounts of media attention, who are now pointing out how much of a lunatic he is. I mean, this guy has complete and utter crash outs live on stream. I mean, one of his brilliant takes was a week before the invasion of Ukraine. He was screaming, yelling, like pooping his pants, that Russia would never violate Ukraine's sanctity and invade. A week before the invasion actually happened. Truly a political mastermind, understanding of every single nuance and every minutia of foreign politics. Just absolutely a brilliant man altogether. Just, you know, a real, oh man, I mean, comparing them to any political analysis seems overly generous, honestly. But you get my point, eh? The guy's an idiot. And his friends are disgusting, despicable people. I mean, that's just a fact, in my opinion. Now, I think that's all the correction I need for that video. And honestly, I'm loving how these terrorist supporters and socialists and communists are having complete and absolute meltdowns and absolutely destroying their own lives, supporting terrorists openly in front of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And that there's ample evidence saved all over the internet of their crimes. Because, be reminded, Hassan has raised money to send to terrorists. And he has outright shared, without comment, without criticism, terrorist propaganda, which is punishable by 20 years in jail. And Hassan is freaking out so much that he's afraid that his billionaire daddy, by the way, Hassan's a socialist, and he has a billionaire daddy, and Hassan lives in a mansion, and that he owns a very expensive car, which he says belongs to everybody, anybody. It belongs to all of his fans. No, I mean, he'll never let any of his fans actually drive his car, but, you know, that's not the point. But he thinks that his billionaire daddy will not be able to save him from Daddy Trump throwing his butt into jail. And I don't think Trump needs to be in office for Hassan to be thrown in jail for supporting terrorists. Again, this guy supports the Houthis, he supports Hezbollah, he supports Hamas. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he supports Somali terrorists in Iran. This guy's a very terrible person, by the way, if you haven't picked up on that. And his buddy Ian and Frogan and every single other person on that side of the aisle. I mean, well, let's just say that all terrible people. Now, there are people on the left-hand side of the aisle that I'm good friends with. People whose lifestyles I don't necessarily agree with. But I tell them, and I mean it, that if they ever have problems with me, they can come talk to me. They can bring up their concerns, and I'll love and support them. I may not agree with the way they live. I may not agree with the types of medicines they take. I may not agree in how they want to treat themselves. But that I still love and care for them, and I'll talk to them, and I'll listen to them. And a lot of these people end up completely and utterly brainwashed, convinced by people that don't care about them, who only want to put them on a path of destruction. And they end up blocking me. And this has happened a few times. But notice how it's always the left that are trying to pull friends apart, like Ian and Ethan, trying to ruin the lives of people that they knew and loved and cared about and spent plenty of time with, while they scream about empathy as they destroy the lives of those that they had once cared for. These people are not empathetic. These people do not care about the mental health of their friends and family. These people, they're toxic. And I tell my friends that if you ever have a problem, again, come talk to me. We can work it out. We can come to an understanding. And I'll support you. And yet they'll go off and they'll believe some psycho who all they do is spend all day yelling at others, screaming at others, causing drama. And they'll convince themselves and be convinced by these terrible friends that the people like me who are out there to try to help them, to try to give them a place where they can vent, to a place that they can go when they're having issues, that we can talk to them. Like, I can talk to them. I can calm them down. I can help them through any anger or depression as best as I can, to help them become more stable. Instead, they'll go to a place with these toxic friends who all they'll do is these toxic friends will make them angry, scared, lonely, depressed, and terrified. Yeah, terrified and scared. Synonyms, but you know what I mean. Is that these toxic friends will go out and try to make them just absolutely scared for their lives. Thinking that, like, that they'll be put to death or put into jail for what they're doing. When that's not at all the case. Like, this fear-mongering has gotten insane, in my opinion. Now, for absolutely awful people who have stabbed me thoroughly in the back, who I loved and cared about, who tried to do everything in their power to destroy my mental health, or destroy my life, or turn friends and family against me, to those people, like Hassan Piker. Now, Hassan Piker, I'm not saying he was one of my friends, but I'm saying people in my life who are like Hassan Piker. Well, obviously I do want to associate with them. But for anyone who truly was my friend at one point, they're welcome to come back at any time and come and talk to me. And Ethan said that, oh, he will let Ethan come and apologize, beg at his feet to be forgiven. For what? I don't know. Ethan didn't do anything to Ian. And all that Ethan did was he asked Ian to stand up for him, to say something on his behalf. Ethan had done nothing wrong. It was Ian, the empathetic person, the 25% filled empathy person, who said that Ethan's in the wrong, and Ethan needs to come and beg for forgiveness. Completely and utterly ignoring the fact that Ian did an entire hour-long hit piece on his best friend, and ignored his best friend's videos, and even denies that he and Ethan were ever friends, despite spending weeks at his house. These people are psychopaths, man. They're outright terrible people. And if you have friends like mine who try to stab you in the back, or block you, despite the fact that you always say that you, and mean, and follow through with the idea that you will always listen, that you will always be patient, that you will always love and care for them. You know, I've had people, one of my friends, for example, who will act hostile, very hostile, for months and months on end. And it turned out that this guy had also had a second profile that he talked with me with, where he pretended to be a woman. And he had a profile where he pretended to be a woman, and he had a profile where he talked like a man. Now, he specifically said that he'd rather be a female, but obviously, as far as I'm aware, he is not actually trans. But I had talked to him on that profile for about 4 or 5 years, something like that. And then on his actual profile where he's a dude, I talked to him on that profile for 3 years. And he only came out and told me that he was both profiles about a month ago, and I forgave him. I told him I would be patient with him, that I would support him. I had given him money occasionally here or there because he was poor and that he didn't have a good relationship with his mother, and he lives all alone. He is always drinking, trying to help the guy. He may be a lost cause here or there, but I want to be able to be there for him and to take and kind of help him out a little bit. And I forgave him for not telling me the truth sooner. I told him I can be exceptionally patient. And before he told me that he was a woman, that he was the female profile that talked to me, he had actually threatened my life. Again, very broken individual, but someone I care about. Now, there is such a thing as too much empathy, especially for someone who might be a danger to yourself and others, and I keep that in mind. Like, whether or not I believe that this guy is capable of violence, I'm not 100% sure. But I'm willing to talk to him and try to help him work through certain issues here or there. And for any of my other friends, I would do the same for them. I try not to lend money out anymore, though, given that I'll never see that money ever again. And I can't fund the entire world. But regardless, I don't like to be taken advantage of. Okay, I would just say that. But anyways, Ian has taken advantage of Ethan to an absolutely ludicrous degree. Completely shat all over his friendship with his buddy. And his life has very clearly gone down the gutter. Pretending that he has learned empathy, where all he has done is he has sided himself with people he doesn't even know and he doesn't even understand. People he doesn't even care to understand. All for a few extra woke points. And to be part of a group of people who, let's face it, again, absolutely horrific people. But again, I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? So no, Ian. Ethan doesn't owe you any apology. You owe him an apology. You're a psychopath. You need to confront that fact and try to learn to be a better person. Whereas I try to be less of a good person to people who are absolutely awful to me. But, well, if they ever want to come back and talk, I'm here for them. To at least hear them out. I'm not going to trust them. Never going to give them money ever again, that's for sure. But I'll hear them out. And I'll try to learn, of where a limit is to how much kindness you can show somebody. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no limits to how much kindness you can show somebody that you care about. And even the strangers. But to be so unkind to your friends, Ian, I mean, I'm not going to say that there's a certain place waiting for you down under. It's not for human minds or human morality to decide who gets to go to the great beyond and who gets to go to the fires below. That is a decision up to God, not to our mortal minds. But you had certainly created your own hell on earth. And it seems like you almost want to put yourself on that path. Maybe consider that. Not that you'll ever see this, but yeah. Que sera, sera, eh? That's it, guys. Bye.